What's going on, everyone? It's another episode of Left Side Heavy, the podcast presented by Blue Wire Hustle. It's your boy, Jevin LaFave. Today, I am bringing on fellow classmate of the BCIT Radio Arts and Entertainment program, Tim Asfar. He comes on, he gives his thoughts and opinions on the Canucks, recent news in the NHL. We ramble on the Canucks about some topics. We bounce back, what our future's looking like, what Jim Rutherford can bring to this team. This is a very fun episode. We give our opinions on the all-star predictions given by NHL.com, who we think should be replaced, what players deserve some recognition, and what players are deserving of the spots. And then we just go over some other news amongst the NHL. And then we obviously hit on this date in sports history for December 13th. Super fun episode. I hope you guys enjoy. And here is Tim Asfar. It's episode 73 of Left Side Heavy, the podcast presented by Blue Wire Hustle. I'm your host, Jevin LaFave. Today, I'm welcoming on fellow classmate. It's almost starting to be a little classmate series the next few weeks here. Had a meal on a couple weeks ago. Today, I'm bringing on Tim Asfar. How's it going, man? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going well. It's my first podcast, so it's an interesting experience, but I'm definitely really looking forward to it.
Well, so we're in the radio arts program at BCIT. What inspired you to get into the program? Like, what do you kind of like about radio and stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, I'm not someone who kind of grew up, listening to the radio every day necessarily. My parents weren't super into it, but I mean, we were kind of growing up in like the transition period where in cars, sometimes you listen to CDs and stuff, but I would listen to radio a lot, like going to hockey practice at like 6 a.m. or games late at night and everything. So that kind of got me into it. And then definitely the last few years, I really got into especially the Halford and Bruff show in the morning. It used to be on 1040, now on 650 Sportsnet. But so I really got into like that and just Canucks general podcasts and everything. And it really just got me so like immersed into the sports media, like genre essentially. And I kind of was trying to figure out my way in life. And I figured if I can do something that I'm genuinely passionate about and go to school for it, like, wow, it would be crazy. And I'm already like so enjoying it. Like, it's just easy to get the passion for it. It's just burning inside me pretty much.
Yeah, I'm on board with that too. And what I like about this program is right now it's mainly like projects, and we're actually kind of like working on stuff rather than like writing essays and everything. Obviously, you have those few like prerequisite classes where it's like you have to take it, where like policy and stuff, where we had to like write essays and everything, and wasn't that enjoyable. But the other classes where it was like more project based, it made it a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially BCIT, one of the things I knew about it is like it's so hands-on, and like that's been such a great part. Like you're saying, like already we're just learning how to like edit and everything like that and like do applicable things. Whereas like, a lot of other places you kind of get like the training wheels and not necessarily even the info that you're really going to use. Whereas like the stuff that we're learning on a daily basis is like so applicable to everything that we love and like what we want to do, So it's really cool.
No, that's exactly it. Do you have like a end goal for this program? Like, is there anywhere that you kind of picture yourself doing? Because there's some people in our class like want to be like voice actors and all that. So there's a bunch of different paths that you can take through this program. Is there any end goal that you want?
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of like I did a little like info program or no program, just like a session, and Brian, one of our professors, he was leading it, and it was super interesting. I mean, I kind of like went in to that with a couple like preconceived ideas of, something to do with the Canucks, and because I love hockey and everything like that so much. But I mean, I had a conversation with him after, and it really like implored me to just go into it with a super open mind and see what I get attached to and what I want to do. Cause there's so many different avenues that you can go down with this. Right. Like, I don't want to limit myself. And that's something he really said, like, just don't limit yourself and don't put on blinders, just go in with an open mind and it'll take you where you need to go. Like, and that really inspired me. So that's something I came into really wanting to do.
Yeah, because I had this envision of myself like hosting a radio show or like hosting like a panel of some sort as like a career. But this program has kind of like opened doors for us to like become producers or like sound engineers for radio programs or doing other stuff like stay like in that industry still, but not necessarily talking and being the performer of it. You're like behind the scenes, like it's opened a lot of doors. So it's that open mind is important for this class because you can be stubborn and be like, no, I want to do this, which is totally fine. But this just like gives you a lot more options to like kind of branch off and do, which is what I'm really enjoying about this.
Yeah, for sure. Like, honestly, that's same thing. Like you said, for me, like I would never have thought like editing audio is something I would find cool. And like a couple of our projects I was doing, and I was like, just hearing the end result, like knowing I did it and like put
Yeah.
all these like different sounds together. I was like, it's a great feeling. I was like, I had no idea. I didn't even think I'd be doing that coming into this class, like being honest, or this program. So it's crazy, but yeah, it's like, it's opened my eyes and it showed me like, I thought, I would 100% be like, oh no, I'm like going to work for the Canucks. That's it. I wanted, or, maybe like a company like Sportsnet or something like that covering the Canucks. But now I've just, yeah, it's like, it's really opened my eyes after even like 3 or 4 months, just like even the stuff I enjoy that I didn't even have a clue that I would. So that's been crazy. It's been really good.
Yeah, and we're only like a semester in. We got 3 more of these semesters, including a couple of practicums coming our way. So it's going to be a fun ride for the rest of the way. But let's get into some hockey. Why not? Hey, that's why I have you on today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're hometown guys. I'm assuming you're a Vancouver Canucks guy.
Absolutely, for sure.
The boys are on a tear. So last episode was when we hired Bruce Boudreau. We cleaned house, got Boudreau in. We still hadn't gotten any GM in place. Like we had Stan Smeel as an intern base, but that's about it. I want to hear your opinion when you heard about the Boudreau news breaking. Obviously, it happened a few weeks ago, but I just want to hear your take on it. And what was your initial thought when it broke?
I mean, I will say I am definitely someone who I like Travis Green. I thought, even at the end of his tenure, he did need to go, like he needed to be fired, but I still think he's a good coach, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I just think we needed a new voice in the room. It was just exactly. He's going to get another job somewhere. I'm confident in that. And he deserves 100%.
one. 100%. Like people are saying like, oh, he's going to like go to the AHL or something like that. He's not like an NHL coach. Like, no, he's an NHL coach for starters. I wanted to say that just to get my opinion out there, but Bruce Boudreau, I definitely, even when that was kind of going on, I said, like, if we're going to replace Green with anyone, I was like, Bruce Boudreau is a great option, like really good regular season coach, I mean, maybe like had some playoff struggles. We're not in the playoffs. We're not close to it right now. Yeah. So, he'll be good at least for the next couple of years. And yeah, I definitely, when I heard it, I didn't know the most about Bruce Boudreau. I won't lie. Like, I did say like, I would like him. After looking into him more and like putting pieces together, I didn't realize he was there for pretty well the majority of the Caps and Caps and
Wild.
He was at, I meant more so for the battles that they have, those big battles. Yeah, okay. Years. I forgot that he was the coach. I only kind of thought about Barry Trotz and he can coach a team. Like at the end of the day, like you see a lot of like 40 or whatever, 60 and 60 videos and everything like that. I've seen a lot of different media by him, and he's a coach. Like at the end of the day, like him coming in, it brought some confidence. Like we were so fixated on having new hires and rookie like GMs, coaches, presidents and everything like that. And it's great to have a guy that's like one of the most winning coaches in the NHL come in and like set a standard. And that's the thing we were lacking, right? It was setting a standard.
Yeah. And a big thing about the Vancouver Canucks is that we love to hire within the organization, like coming up from Abbotsford or old players who have played for the Canucks. You work for us, like you see Linden, you see Travis Green, even
the Sedins we got now too.
Yeah, who's the old coach around like 2014? 2015
Desjardins, Willie.
Desjardins, yeah, Willie.
Yeah.
Like, so we love to hire within the organization, and seeing us branch off and get, like you said, one of the most winningest coaches of the past decade. Like, he's done well, and yeah, the playoff struggles are there, but you can't. I'd rather have a good regular season to at least get there, and then at some point, like, the success will come in the playoffs, right? And he's just a good coach to bring a new spark, provide a new spark for the team, and it's clearly worked. I mean, we're 4-0 under him. We're recording on Monday, so the Tuesday game will have already been played by the time this comes out. So it could be 4-1, could be 5-0. So he's clearly doing something to this team, which is good.
And he comes in like, I love Travis Green, but the thing is, he's a very minutia coach. He looks at every single nook and cranny, and that is good in some sense. But I think the players got very tired of it, and all this very harsh system getting it was weighing them down. PD and Besser, you could see it was weighing them down. How much stress there was on them coming from the coach, the player, or the team, the fans. It was hard on them. So having a new coach, you can tell Bruce Bourgeois, he's a jolly old man. He's lively, he makes people laugh. He's always smiling. Travis, he's a poker guy. He played poker. Literally, that's what he did with the media, with the fans, with everyone. He was a hard guy. He's a stern guy. But so I really think that the fresh idea, it would have been a different story if they hired another guy like Travis, like an Alan Vigneault or something like that, in that mold of a very stern guy. Whereas they just went the complete 180, which was it was such a good idea, or such a good decision by the Canucks to go that route by just, he empowers the players. That's what he's essentially doing. Instead of beating the players down and trying to bring them back up, he's just empowering them and trying to get them to be the best players that they can be at the end of the day.
No, I completely, wholeheartedly agree. And you see, it's working with the players, like Besser and PD. You saw the anything Travis would do, they wouldn't seem to be in agreement, or it would just seem like it would weigh them down even more. And you see now, Besser, he has 4 points in 4 games with 3 goals. And PD, he has 2 points in 4 games, but you see he's looking a lot more motivated to make a difference, whereas before he just didn't seem like himself. And I'm just happy. Even if we don't make the playoffs, which in all honesty is probably the best thing to do for this team, because we should probably try and get the best draft pick possible, to be real. But we're looking a lot faster and a lot more respectable to other teams. We're looking a lot more competitive. We're beating teams who we've struggled against in the past, like Winnipeg, Boston, Carolina. We're getting wins off those guys where we haven't had much success in the past. So it's bringing a new spark to the city. So
yeah, you can tell it just it brought back fans having just Jim Benning getting let go. It was so long overdue.
I know. I've been saying any other team would have fired Benning 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's definitely
so.
Yeah, that was something else, but another story for another day. Let's just say
exactly.
Yeah,
we can leave that behind us. But to go along with what we've been talking about, shortly after the press conference, it was leaked today. I don't know if you caught the press conference with Aquilini and Rutherford.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Canucks hired Jim Rutherford as president of hockey operations, and Aquilini said that in the Stan Smeel one that they would take their time in looking for someone, but in doing that they were waiting on a response from Jim Rutherford because they reached out to him. And I think this move is massive for this organization. If he came in as a GM, I think his mindset is genuinely a lot different than what the Canucks need. We need to protect our early round picks, especially our first round picks, and we need to build for the future. And Jim Rutherford has had a past of only managing for contending teams. So he's only gone like all in or nothing kind of thing. And that won't necessarily work for this. So bringing him in as president of hockey operations, I think is good because it just provides stability to let the GM do his work. What's your thoughts on Jim Rutherford coming in for the Canucks?
Yeah, I mean, definitely one thing that like Francesco and the Canucks were getting heat for is they said they were going to do kind of like an exhaustive search, and they ended up just bringing in Rutherford and Boudreau. But like at the end of the day, like even like I 100% agree, Rutherford should not be GM. That's not his role. At the end of the day, he's a 73-year-old guy. He's kind of in the back nine, obviously. So they need him. They need him to protect like the Vancouver Canucks image and build it back up from what it was, because it got beaten down so badly over the last 8 years. Like it's. And they need it to be revitalized, and they need someone stern that's going to stick up for the Canucks. I think that's what Jim Rutherford's going to do. And I really agree. Like it was key to bring him in at this time because you need someone in charge of the top. Like we have a good, there's like 4 or 5 guys that we have, the Sedins, Smeal and everything, that are kind of acting as interim GMs and everything. But at the end of the day, you need a vision at all times. If there's a lack of vision, what is like the club is just going to be spinning its wheels, right? Like, the Boudreau, the effect, we can get the bump and everything like that. But then after that, what's going to happen? Like, there is no vision again, right? Like if we're waiting to hire the perfect president, perfect GM, and we wait till after the season, which is like realistically the best time because that's when you have the most candidates, then you're kind of just sitting there spinning your wheels for the trade deadline and up until the draft. And it's like, they have like a month to come in and like figure out everything with the draft, So it was a really good call for them to bring in Rutherford. I think when they did, I wish they did the Travis Green firing a couple weeks before to kind of minimize that losing streak, but that's kind of my only complaint, I'd say.
Yeah, it was also weird to hear the Bruce Boudreau news prior to Travis Green being fired, and then all of that prior to Jim Benning being fired. Because I was happy, like we've said our piece about Travis Green. I was happy he was gone, but it's nothing against Travis Green. It was just a matter of bringing in someone new and starting from scratch. Like that was the main thing. But when I heard that, I was like, don't tell me Benning still has a job. Like that was my first thing. And I'm pretty sure that was everyone's opinion.
My first thought too. Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone was like, you got to be kidding me. This Benning guy's still here? But then Jagger tweeted, broke it. He's like, big changes are still to come, all that. And then like a couple hours later, the Benning news was released. So yeah, it was definitely odd of that order, but it had to happen as soon as possible, because if we're to make changes, and as a team, if we are wanting to make changes at the deadline, you hear these JT Miller rumors, Besser rumors, Horvat rumors. There's a bunch of things going around, like Horvat coming out saying he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild, where that might be because we did rush it, but Canucks are in this weird area where they're not in a position to like blow it up and rebuild, because they still have their core is young and good enough to finish a rebuild, but we're also not good enough to contend because we don't have enough cap room. So we're in this weird situation where the easiest solution might be to blow it up. So are all these players going to be gone? Like Canucks are in this weird situation. So it's definitely going to be interesting.
I do want to say that we do have like the most important positions, like Demko's showing, starting from the back end out, like Demko's showing that we have a franchise goalie. Like if you can keep this up, essentially, that you don't need to look for a goalie. Quinn Hughes, he's had a huge bounce back with his defensive game. Yeah. He looks like a number one defenseman. The main thing that it hinges on is if PD can get back to his old form, because that's essentially the hardest position to get, is that franchise 1C. Yeah. To solidify your team. And if we don't have that in PD, and if he shows that he's not that player, then yeah, like I do think probably a rebuild is the best course of action. But if he is that player that we know he can be, that he showed that he can be, like for 2 years, it wasn't just like a blip or anything like that. It was 2 full years, right? If he shows that he can be that player, I don't see why we can't. Like, yeah, we do need a fundamental rethinking of our franchise, but I don't think that we need a rebuild necessarily if we have the 3 biggest pillars that you're looking for in place, you know? I mean, I'm not saying there isn't going to be tough decisions that need to be made, maybe a JT Miller, maybe a Bo Horvat trade or something, but I think those 3, like you got to build around them. They're the perfect age, right? Like Demko, yeah, he's a little older. It's his 26th birthday, I believe it was 25th or 26th. But he's still got years ahead of him. Quinn and Petey, they're young, right? Like these are like 3 like franchise pieces. We think at least they're showing that they are. So if they can continue doing that, I don't think a rebuild is in the cards. That's what I want to say. A retool, yeah. But yeah, it'll just time will tell, I think. Kind of have to see.
Yeah, it's kind of like a quick reset. Just like get rid of the contracts that are weighing us down and then try to acquire as much capital as we can. And then don't trade our first round picks. Like, I think that's our course of action is like, try to get rid of Myers, get whatever you can from him. I don't know if we can. It's kind of hard now that it's kind of hard since Jim Benning threw around no move clauses to every single player. So now we're kind of handcuffed. Yeah. So it doesn't help us with leverage. But anyways, I think to carry on what I was saying, it was important to get Rutherford in place now and Boudreau so that we can get some sort of identity for the rest of the season and get at least some stability in place by the deadline if we have to make moves, we have someone capable to do that. And Jim Benning just wasn't that, which is why I was nervous if Aquilini was going to keep him on for the rest of the season. Because I'm like, if Benning's not going to come back and he's going to make trades for us at the deadline, what's the point? Like he's going to risk our future and then not have to deal with it down the road because he's not going to get brought back. So get rid of him before the deadline and bring in someone can eat their and like be held accountable for the decisions they make at the deadline, right? So I think it was important to get rid of them now, like as soon as possible, so that we can have time to get someone in and make the changes we need at the deadline. So it's I'm excited. Canucks are one thing I'm happy about, and I think it was a good Christmas present to all Canucks fans, was that they're at least fun to watch again, which is all we can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I've had the privilege of going to a couple games this year. Both of them were good. Even I went to the Rangers game, which was the
Rangers game was a good one. When we came back we were down 2-0, right? We came back one in overtime. Yeah, that was a good one.
I was sitting right behind Demko too when he lost his blocker. And then
that sequence was one of the best.
I saw it like right in front of my eyes. It was crazy. I was like 5th row, like right there.
How nuts were you going, man? How nuts were you going?
Like, yeah, crazy. Like literally like probably, I don't even know. Like the play was like 45 seconds, the whole play. And then like 2 minutes after that, like a standing ovation. Like that was insane. That was like one of the most fun I've had at a Canucks game ever. And then I went to LA as well. So that was really good.
When he was like shaking his hand and then continued to make like 3 saves after that was absolutely bonkers, man.
It was crazy. And then I was going to say, I actually on overtime, the play switched around the end switched. So I got to see the JT Miller goal right in front of me too. So that was a great insane game. Yeah. And then I went to the LA game, which was Boudreau's, I believe that was his first game. Yeah, exactly. Really good game, 4-0 win. So I've been treated to some good Canucks games. That kind of skews my my feeling on it. So, but yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like they're so much better to watch, like night and day. Like, it's just like, it's crazy. Before they were just like such a dull team and just like, they were fragile, right? Like they would get a lead, a 1-goal lead, and it was like they would stop playing. They wouldn't even try to get another. Yeah. And now they're like in the 3rd period against Carolina, like pushing them. They weren't like that was probably their best period of the game. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, because when we had like Baumgartner and Green, they were huge ones of like dump it in and sit back.
passive. Like,
where it's just like now that we have Scott Walker in here, the PK is more aggressive. Our forechecking is more aggressive. We're more, like you said, like pedal to the metal, put your foot on the throat and like keep suffocating them to making them make bad decisions. We're causing turnovers. We're putting some of our best players on the PK. Like we're putting Pedersen on the PK, Hughes on the PK. JT Miller is probably our best penalty killer. Tyler Mott is like every player on the team just looks so much more energized. And I think that's the telltale sign that Travis Green lost the room. And it was just a matter of, look, nothing on you, Green. You gave us some good years the past couple of years. You signed a contract extension, so you obviously were good enough for that. And I was in agreement with the contract extension because I liked Green. But it was just a matter of this year. It's just, sorry, man, you just lost the room. Like nothing on you. You'll get another job somewhere. I'll bet on it. But now our team's back. Like it's just much more fun to watch. And that's all I care about.
It's fun to be a Canucks fan again, because that was the thing. Like even someone like me who's like the most optimistic guy and like so passionate and like I'm always going to be a Canucks fan. Like it actually got hard to watch them for a bit there. Like last year was hard to watch, but like this year was like it got even worse because there were terrible expectations, right? Like that's the thing. That last year we didn't have expectations really. Like I mean maybe a bit. But we kind of knew like they lost some guys, like it's probably going to be a bit of a rough year, the pandemic. Now that it's like everything's in person, like it was bad. Like it was not good to be a Canucks fan. So like, thank God they like made that change, like it's
people put us up there to win the division this year. So when you have those expectations and you do as bad as we were doing with like, we didn't even have any like COVID problems. Sutter's still out, unfortunately, but it's like, you can't even put it on that. We had no injuries really. It was just our players weren't performing well. Our only top players were Nhler and Demko. And then Hughes started playing a lot better. And now we're just a lot more alive. So it's a lot more fun to watch, but we'll move on to some other news in the NHL. NHL.com came out with their all-star predictions. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. So I'll kind of run through. So I have right now the set lineup that they've predicted, and then some other players who have received votes. And I'll go through each one, and you kind of give me your thoughts, and we'll go division by division. How does that sound?
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll start in the Pacific. So we got McDavid, Draisaitl, Troy Terry, Johnny Gaudreau, Yanni Gourde, Kopitar as the forwards. Then we got Hughes, Pietrangelo, Carlson, and then Markstrom and Gibson as the Pacific lineup right now. And then others who have received votes are Mangiapane, Timo Meier, Mark Stone, Jordan Eberle, Drew Doughty, Robin Lehner, Kevin Shattenkirk, and Jonathan Quick. Now, does it surprise you that neither JT Miller or Thatcher Demko was on any of these lists for the Pacific All-Stars?
I will say Miller for sure. Demko, I feel like he's been playing well this year, but with how bad the team was playing, there was nothing he could do to really shine. Yeah. So now I feel like leading up to the All-Star break, he'll definitely get a lot more consideration, whereas he kind of didn't really get too much before. Miller, I'm definitely surprised about. He's been an engine for this team since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I definitely am pretty surprised about that.
He's just been our most consistent player. Like he's continuously providing. He's making a difference on the PK and the power play. I'm just surprised, like, even if he doesn't make the list, because I know one player from every team has to make it. So even a worse player like Yanni Gourde should not be there over Miller, but what other Seattle Kraken player deserves to be there? Like no one else really. So you kind of have to put him there, even if he doesn't necessarily belong. So it's unfortunate. That's what question I wanted to ask you. What are your thoughts on every team has to be represented? At least one player from every team has to be there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I don't think it's, I feel like it should just be purely based on
the best players
who are playing the best. Yeah, the players who are playing the best. Even if it's like, like taking a player like Mangiapane over someone. I mean, just for example, like Mark Stone. Like Mangiapane's not a better player than Mark Stone, but Stone's been injured and Mangiapane's having an unreal year. Like,
yeah,
I just think that at the end of the day, the players who are playing the best since the beginning of the season should be the ones to make the roster.
I agree. Because I know Canucks have been blessed with that rule that every team, like when Horvat went there, in no way was he an all-star that year. He just wasn't. Yeah. But with every team has to be represented, that's why he was there. So I think that the best players go. I don't think they should lose the rule that every team needs to be there because the best players aren't there. Like, it's just not like Mangiapane should be there. Timo Meier should be there. JT Miller should be there. And they aren't because at least every player has to be there. But I don't completely disagree with this forward list, though, for the Pacific. Like Troy Terry. Troy Terry went on a 16-game point streak, and he's playing still really good on one of the most hot teams right now, or like surprising teams in the NHL. Like, yeah,
definitely the most surprising team. That's for sure.
So like, I don't disagree with Troy Terry being there at all because I think he deserves to be there. Kopitar, I mean, he's aging like fine wine right now.
Yeah.
So, and even Erik Karlsson, man.
Karlsson's had a big bounce back. I will say Pietrangelo, I don't know if I agree with that one. He's had a bit of a middling season. I mean, the thing is, they've been just absolutely decimated by injuries, and he's been playing crazy minutes, right? So like, it's understandable that his, like, I look at analytics and stuff, and I see how he's been doing. He's definitely had a bit of a like not so great start to the year. So that's the only one I could say. But yeah, I agree. Forwards wise, besides Yanni Gourde, like you can't complain. Like Kopitar is like the only like the closer one, but even him, he's like such a two-way force. Like you really can't, like, no complaints with him.
And even like his past history, I'm not even taking into that account. Like he started off hot. Like he was on, like he's just been playing really solid this year, and LA is like on the brink of making the playoffs when no one really put them there. So
yeah,
I like him there. I respect it. Pacific, man, like we are probably the worst division in the league. Like I'll say that right now, but we've had some absolute gamers this year. So yeah, there's obviously a few things I would change. I don't necessarily disagree with the goalies. Markstrom is probably the best goalie in the league right now, best and favorite. And then Gibson's solid for another surprising team like Anaheim. Like they've just been doing well this year. So just a Yanni Gourde one, but that's just goes along with the.
I will say though, Gibson is injured right now, and if Demko can keep up what he's kind of been doing, like it's a big recency bias, right? Like I feel like if people see Demko keep doing well, Gibson's like kind of struggles when he comes back. Like I think there's a decent chance Demko could be going as well.
I just even think though, what's unfortunate is that I think NHL writers are just basing their decision off stats and not actually watching. Because Demko, he's been playing like one of the best goalies in the league. It's just Canucks defense has been so shit. Like even at the beginning of the year, like you saw that, right?
Yeah.
So like his stats aren't there, but he has the most appearances, most games started in the league out of any goalie. Yeah. And against one of the worst defensive teams, like our penalty kill is 64%. Like that's not completely on him. Like he's
not on him at all.
He's been we would be like last in the league if it wasn't for Demko. So that's why I kind of think like he could make a case for the All-Star game. Like his stats are like kind of putting him lower than what he's actually been playing. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah.
So we'll give off the Central right now.
Yeah.
We got Kadri, Kaprizov, Kyle Connor, Jordan Kyrou, Alex DeBrincat, and Joe Pavelski. Then we got Roman Josi, Cale Makar, Shane Gostisbehere, and UC Saros and Cam Talbot. And then in the other players have been Patrick Kane, Matt Duchene, Jason Robertson, and Jordan Binnington. So it's weird seeing Kadri here and not McKinnon.
Yeah, I picked him up in fantasy, so I definitely have been following his
Yeah.
progression. That was yeah, that's crazy. Even since McKinnon's come back, I mean, it seems like he's kind of been getting his groove back a bit more last night against Florida. But otherwise, yeah, like Kadri being there it's crazy. He's just having an unbelievable year.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't disagree with him being there at all. It's just weird to see when McKinnon's not
For
there.
sure. Yeah.
And like Kadri went on that absolute tear as well. Like he had like what, like 20 points in like 10 games. Like he was playing out of his mind, and he totally deserves to be there. Like Jordan Kyrie's having a breakout season too. He was a bit streaky last year, but he's been a lot more consistent this year. And I mean, Kaprizov's electric. I haven't been following much of Dallas, but Dallas has been very banged up, and Pavelski seems to be doing pretty consistent. I don't know if you listened to the episode with me and Emil, but I put Pavelski on to make Team USA at the Olympics this year.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he is having a decent resurgence. For the All-Star game, I will say Jason Robertson, he's actually like since he came back from injury, he's been playing really well.
Yeah, he has.
So like I would definitely keep a lookout for him. Maybe even over Pavelski for the All-Star. But yeah, no, that's definitely a hot take too. With that's a good take though with Pavelski on Team USA. He would be a really good veteran presence for sure.
That's why I picked him. And if you just throw him on the power play, he can.
Yeah, just play net front. He's like one of the best net front players like ever, pretty much.
Yeah, I have him as like a 13th forward, so I have him like on the cusp. But yeah, even like Rupe Hintz, you can throw in there. He's had kind of health problems, like being in and out of the lineup. But yeah. So Shane Gostisbehere has been doing well this year too on like one of the worst teams in the league. So
yeah, he's had a bit of a resurgence on Arizona, which is good to see because I always liked Shane Gostisbehere, honestly. Especially when he had a good couple of years on Philly. Like he got linked to Vancouver, like I think like the year after when he was kind of having a down year. And I always liked him. So yeah.
No, it's good to see him, especially on underperforming team. Atlantic. You got Stamkos, Huberdeau, Matthews, Raymond, Marchand, and Toffoli, with Ekblad, Dahlin, and Thomas Chabot, with Jack Campbell and Vasilevsky. Then you got Tage Thompson, Batherson, Brady Tkachuk, Nick Suzuki, Victor Hedman, and Charlie McAvoy, also receiving votes.
I will say Toffoli out for 2 months, so he's gonna be he won't be in the All-Star game, sadly. Otherwise, yeah, that's a really good division. Like it's crazy.
One thing I would say is I don't disagree with Matthews, but I think like Willie Nylander has played very good this year.
Yeah.
And when Matthews wasn't playing well, William Nylander was carrying the team.
Yeah.
He stepped up. And I just want him to get a little bit more recognition than I feel like he's getting. And also, these aren't the official ones. So these are just predictions, early predictions. Like you can vote for like all-star captains right now. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Like these aren't official, but we're just giving our input on the early release. But man, Willie Nylander, again, with the one player has to make it from every team kind of thing. So you can't really replace anyone except Matthews with Nylander. So it's just like, I understand it, but I mean, Willie Nylander has been having a really good year. So
yeah,
that's all I gotta say.
He stepped his game up. That's for sure. Like when Matthews and Marner were on that really low shooting percentage streak for a while. Nylander, he stepped his game up. I like Nylander a lot. Yeah.
Remember all the talk when Nylander signed? Everyone was like, trade Nylander. He's not worth it. Now he's like the best.
Overpaid.
Yeah, now he's one of the best contracts on the team because he's only making like $7 million.
One of the best in the league, honestly.
Yeah. He's only making like $7 million and he's like a 30 goal scorer.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
It's amazing how quick the tables can turn.
Yeah, the narrative changes. Yeah,
exactly.
That's for
sure. The Metro Division, we got Ovechkin, Panarin, Gensel, Aho, Kreider, Giroux, Adam Fox, Dougie Hamilton, Werenski, and then Shesterkin and Sorokin. And then other players receiving votes are Kuznetsov, Crosby, Barzal, Jesper Bratt, John Carlson, Jari, and Varlamov.
Yeah. Wow. The first one that came to mind was Ovi. That guy is just crazy.
Yeah.
Like 36, 37, just like absolutely ripping it up.
And like on some people's ballots, he's front runner for the Hart. And in my opinion, I think he's front runner for the Hart. You see, like he's carrying the load for Washington. A lot of people like had them barely making the playoffs, and now gotten leading the division. So what are your thoughts on this lineup for the Metro? Is there any players you take out and replace?
Yeah, trying to think. I mean, one thing's for sure. Another person that stands out is Shesterkin. That guy is he's crazy. He's like an unbelievable goalie. One of the best in the NHL. Like,
yeah,
he's really good. Honestly, though, there's not really too much that I would replace. I'd say it's just such a stacked lineup. Like Aho too, having such a good year. Gensel, just such a good player. Kreider, New York is just such a surprise. Like I had no idea they were going to go on this.
Three players making the.
They deserve it too, right? Yeah. Like that's the thing, honestly.
Yeah, because one player that stands out that didn't make it was Jari for Pittsburgh, because he's been one of the best goalies this year. But Sorokin, no one else from the Islanders really deserved to be there. But Shesterkin's been probably one of like a top 3 goalie this year as well. So you got to give him his flowers as well. So it's like Jari's just having a really good year in the same division as other goalies who are having a really good year as well. So
yeah, Islanders are just usually you give it to Barzal or something, but he's just not. He's playing.
There's no really player that's having a good year besides Sorokin, so you got to give him in.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. And Rangers 4 guys. That's crazy. Panarin, Kreider, Fox, Shesterkin.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy to see. But yeah, those are the All-Star lineups. Well, I think obviously there'll be more official news later, but we'll go to other news around the league. Marc-Andre Fleury hits 500 wins, the 3rd goalie in the NHL to ever do it. And he got it in a shutout in his hometown.
Yeah, that was really good to see. Like they were even chanting his name at the end too. Yeah. That was crazy. The Bell Center.
Because you heard his press conference after. He was saying, he's like, I haven't had much success in this arena. And for his 500th win to come in Montreal in a shutout too is just unreal to see.
Yeah, so, he grew up like an hour away from there. It's pretty crazy.
Shout out to Marc-Andre Fleury. Where would you rank him amongst all-time Canadian goalies? Would you put him top 5, top 10?
For sure, top 5. I'd say at this point, he's like, I'd put him like behind. I still put him behind. Obviously, Brodeur, Waugh. And I struggle with him and Luongo, but I think just he was on better teams. Like you put Luongo on those Pens teams and he's winning those cups too, you know?
Yeah.
So I do think I'd put Luongo still over him, but yeah, top 5. Like he'd probably be my 4th, honestly.
Yeah. No, he's unreal. Like he lived up to that number 1 overall pick hype. Like he's
crazy.
He's done well, and I gotta respect that for sure. The NHL Olympics. It's in jeopardy right now.
You know, crazy one.
A lot of COVID games have been postponed. Players have been out with illness, some COVID related, some not. And the NHL, man, they've basically put it in the decision of the players. Like, do you want to go? Because quarantine is basically the entire Olympics if you test positive down there. It's 5 weeks, and there's no deadline to withdraw. So that basically means they could leave the next day and then decide not to go, which will then be like, hey, then what are we doing for?
Who's on Team Canada?
That's a basically construct a team. There are financial costs after the 10th of January, which I don't know what that will include. Maybe the NHL has to give up some money or whatever. Like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
And players have already come out. Robin Leonard decided, he's like, I'm declining my invitation to Team Sweden due to, I think it was the strict protocols. He doesn't want to deal with, he already dealt with the bubble, and he came out and said that it was huge on his mental health, and he doesn't want to do that with the protocols in the Olympics. So what are your thoughts, and like what are you thinking with this new Olympics news coming out?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was like definitely very like I was optimistic about it. I thought they were gonna go until I saw like the 3 to 5 weeks, I think it was, for the testing positive quarantine. It's like, man, like there's like you're missing NHL action at that point, right? Like there's no way, like, and people are gonna test positive. Like there's no way that this whole Olympics going by and like nobody's testing positive for COVID. So yeah, I don't see it happening anymore after that. Honestly, that's just, I could kind of see it maybe happening if it was in like a place like America or something. But when you're going to a different country like China across the world, it's like, it's so unpredictable. Like there's no sway, right? Like, you know, they don't care that you're an NHL player at the end of the day. Like it doesn't matter to them. Right. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's really unfortunate. And because as a fan, I selfishly want to say like, I'll just go because I want to see NHL players play. Because if I go my entire life and I don't see Connor McDavid play in the Olympics, I'm going to be pissed. And I think everyone would be pissed because he's arguably the best player, like skill-wise, to play hockey. You know, like obviously Gretzky's going to be the greatest of all time. No one's going to top that. But like Connor McDavid, in terms of skill, he's arguably the best player to ever play.
For sure.
And if I don't see him in Team Canada jersey at the Olympics, it's going to be annoying.
Yeah,
right?
It sucked. And I mean, not even just that, it's like not being able to see him as many times as possible. Like, you know?
So it's like selfishly, I want to see players play. And I think everyone does. But I mean, when it comes down to like 5 weeks of quarantine, like what? Like if you test positive on the very last day, you have to stay in China for 5 weeks and you're missing time in the NHL. Like owners aren't going to want that. GMs aren't going to want that. Coaches aren't going to want that. Teammates aren't going to want that.
Yeah.
Like imagine like you're in a race to get to the playoffs or whatever. You're battling for a wild card spot and your guys. And what if someone gets like a Brandon Sutter? Like
a long haul. Yeah.
Like a long-term COVID.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a risk that you're going to have to take. I understand if players don't want to go. So it's going to be interesting to see what decisions are made closer to the date.
It's pretty crazy, honestly. Like I have no idea what's going to happen, but if I had to guess, I just would say that they probably aren't going to end up going.
Yeah, it is tough. And I wish it was just like over here. Like in Canada, the States.
Yeah, because there's too many variables when you're across the world like that, right? Like all of how many of these people play, like majority of these players have never even been to China. Like it's
I know. So like because I don't think they'll be getting any of like the Olympic Village opportunity. And like I think that's a huge part. Like on your off days, you just have to chill in your hotel room. Like that's tough.
What's the point? Yeah.
It's
not what they imagined.
It's bubble hockey all over again. And I just don't know if they'll enjoy that, which
I feel like they'd rather just hang out around in their home cities.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate to see because I want to see NHL players back in the Olympics. And I think I don't want to see Mason Raymond be our first line center. It's like, let's be real here.
Yeah, for sure.
But in other news, Ben Bishop has to call it a career. He last played in 2020. He got knee surgery and just hasn't been able to rehab it. He got some time in the AHL and he gave up like 8 goals on 30 shots. So unfortunately, he calls it a career. But when you think of Ben Bishop, like what do you think of as a goalie? Because he kind of had he peaked and then kind of declined, but then he like won the Vezina.
Yeah, he had a really big comeback. Yeah, I mean, he honestly, I kind of feel like he almost like revolutionized like the big goalie. You know, like before him, you really didn't see like a 6'7" goalie. And I love Ben Bishop. Honestly, he's like such a good guy. Like it's terrible that he has to retire early. Like you got to feel so bad for him because he's just like such a good guy. And like the first thing that comes to my mind is just like all the teams he played for. Like, you know, like I always forget even like that he was like on like Tampa Bay and everything like that. Like it's crazy. Like it's sad that he has to retire early though. It's like you got to really feel for a guy in that position where you know that you can have like multiple more good years. But yeah, he's got put into a big place, so you got to feel for him, especially being that big. Like, you know, it's obviously hard on the body when you're playing like at such a high level, being like a pro athlete, that being a goaltender, like your body is like so in tune like every day. So you got to feel for the guy, right? That's kind of what comes to mind, I'd say.
Yeah, he was such a solid goalie, and man, to see it, because he was like aging like fine wine. Like he had those unfortunate years it's like he was so solid and he was always amongst the talks of the best goalies in the league. And then it just happened so quick. Like he's just on the knee injuries. Like knees are a funny thing, man. Like players either come back stronger or it lingers. And unfortunately, it just like caught up with him, couldn't rehab it back to its old ways. And you never like to see a guy's career end earlier than it should have.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw too, Dallas put Khudobin on waivers this morning. So big goalie changes in Dallas, that's for sure.
I'm just waiting for the chase on waivers tweet from Elliot Friedman.
Yeah, seriously, after that giveaway, and then lets Kyle Connor score. That was a bad one. I can understand if you're a rookie, but like, man, you've played 600 games in the NHL. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, that made me so upset. Yeah. I was so mad. I was like, why is this guy still in the lineup?
Honestly,
and then he finally got scratched.
Again, that's like the thing about Boudreau. You know, Green would probably he maybe would sit him or something, but he's still going to let him play. And like Boudreau, it's like that's probably it.
Yeah. So it's I'm glad that he was finally given the cut. But other than that, Ben Bishop, great career.
Yeah. He's a legend.
And any team's Ring of Honor? Or do you think he didn't really make a difference in one franchise?
That's the thing. I feel like he bounced around. He's in Ottawa too. Like he just wasn't at a place for long enough, you know? Like that's the only thing I'd say.
Yeah, he was on the team in Dallas when they went to the finals, right? Or was he hurt?
Yeah, he was. No, yeah. I believe he was. No, it was Khudobin playing.
Yeah, Bishop was hurt, right?
Yeah, no, it was Anton Khudobin playing.
Yeah, because he was Vezina caliber for a few years, and then just man, injuries suck. Injuries suck. Moving on, the cap is expected to raise $1 million next year, which is good to see. NHL's finally getting some revenue in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, kind of something that you were saying before too with the Canucks. Like, it's the new way is like you got to find cheap forward depth, right? Like, look at Toronto, what they did with like Andre Kasha and Bunting. Like, man, they have like 20 points each, and it's maybe Kasha doesn't have that as many because he was injured, but I know Bunting has like almost 20 points, and like, how much are they getting paid, right?
Yeah,
like that's like the middle of the road wingers, like a Tanner Pearson making like $3 million, but like, what is he? He's a bottom six winger on a contending team. Like that doesn't exist. That's not going to exist anymore. So Canucks need to find a way to get out of those kind of contracts. Like same with like Tucker Pullman, $2.5 million for a bottom pair D. It's like, yeah, he'll have the odd game where he can step into the top four, but like, you don't need to be paying that much for someone who plays that kind of minutes when you can pay, like you already have that in Luke Shen for $850K for 2 years, right? So Jim Rutherford has his work cut out for him. He needs to just definitely, to bring it full circle, he needs to do that and like get rid of those players, because that's kind of like that way of the NHL is over. I feel like the middlemen, those middle of the pack players are just, they're going to get squeezed out, and they're going to have to just take what they can get, league minimum contracts, a little over league minimum, because teams want to pay their stars, and that's all they can afford to pay when they're paying 4 players $40 million.
Yeah. So it's good to see like every team get some relief, especially us, because we need it so badly.
Yeah, but seriously.
The NHL admits a mistake on Sabres' goal versus the Rangers. So the Rangers tied it up late or went ahead late. It was one of the two, but then it was disallowed. I had intentions of looking up the goal, but did you see it?
I did. So it was actually the Sabres scored late to tie it up, but it got disallowed. Essentially what happened, Olofsson he was bringing the puck in, but he didn't have the puck on his stick. And as Dolan was tagging up, the puck came into the zone, but Olofsson hadn't touched it yet. On the play, they let the goal, like they didn't catch it. It was a good goal. And then they end up challenging the goal or something. I forget if I think they challenged it. And then in the war room in like Toronto or whatever, they said, yeah, no, that's offside, even though it's technically the rule in the rule book is if the player doesn't touch the puck and the puck's in the zone, it doesn't matter. Until he touches it, then it's offside.
Yeah. So
that was kind of it. So they called it wrong in that case. It should have been a good goal. It ended up being disallowed on that, and because of that.
Because that happened last year. Really? Boston versus Vancouver. But they allowed it because McAvoy hadn't touched it. So to see that be disallowed, there's like an inconsistency there, because the Canucks, or like Boston scored, they allowed it. Canucks challenged it. It was disallowed. But then Boston challenged the challenge, and then they allowed the goal because McAvoy entered when someone hadn't tagged up yet, but he hadn't touched it yet. So technically you can't blow the whistle, and McAvoy hadn't entered the zone. So he touched it when there was no player in the zone.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that rule before. Like I feel like I've seen it happen where they call it that way. And because like I've been like, oh, that's like ridiculous. Like it was offside, but he just left it. And then they called it the other way. So that's just a big miscommunication. I don't understand how they just like.
I agree with the goal being allowed. Like, I don't think that's offside. Like should be a goal.
Skilled play to do that. If you can have the hand-eye coordination to like just let go of the puck right before the blue line and then
the awareness.
Like you deserve to score, right?
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree. So we're gonna be wrapping up soon. I have a couple would you rathers here. Some fun would you rathers that sure. I want to do. I just searched them up now, so some of them are kind of weird, but
it's all good.
They're just hockey editions. But would you rather see your favorite goalie score a goal or see them win a goalie fight?
I feel like score a goal for Demko. Like Demko's probably he is my favorite goalie right now for sure. Definitely score a goal because I feel like the boys would just like celebrate so hard, because I mean like a hockey goalie fight would be kind of funny. Like we saw it with Ryan Miller kind of on Matt Martin. That was always like, gets the boys fired up and everything. But yeah, I feel like definitely a goal, like seeing Demko score a goal would be legendary.
Yeah, both would be so amazing. Like seeing Demko win a goalie fight would be unbelievable.
He's so nice, though. I feel
like I know,
which
is why it would be crazy because I wouldn't expect it.
No? Yeah, that is true. That is true for sure.
But also seeing him score a goal would be amazing as well.
Yeah, I feel like the reaction from the whole team would just be like legendary.
Yeah, 100%. There's another one that was kind of funny. Would you rather see Johnny Gaudreau play with Chara's stick or Chara play with Gaudreau's stick?
Jeez, oh man. I'm gonna say Goudreau with Chara's. I feel like that would be just like, literally Chara would be like funny because he'd be like so low, but like Goudreau would just be ridiculous. Like it's like a foot taller than him. Like literally 1 foot taller than him. So yeah, that would be my pick. Would be Goudreau with a Chara's stick.
Yeah, same here. That would be so. That would be so funny.
He couldn't get a puck within like 4 feet of his like.
I know. Just like kicking it.
Yeah, and nothing close to his feet. No stick handling.
Yeah, I asked this next question on a previous episode, but I think it's a pretty good one. Would you rather go to Game 7 in Vegas or Game 7 in Montreal?
I mean, that's a tough one. Like, I feel like Vegas would just like, I would almost want to do that because like they just top everything, right? Like they top themselves every time, like somehow with like their CGI and like everything in their pregame shows, like it's unrivaled in like any sport. It's literally like, like I feel like I would want to experience a Game 7 in Vegas. That would be like, the Bell Center would be crazy. Like, it'd be so loud and everything like that. But like, I feel like the Vegas experience would just be like, I'm not even a Vegas guy, and I feel like it would be none other, like I just feel like it would be insanity. Like I don't even have the like, I've gotten questions recently. Like people are like, oh, like, have you gone to Vegas? Do you want to go? And I'm like, not really. Like, I don't know. I'm not really into that. It's not kind of this podcast, obviously, but like that experience of like being in that atmosphere of like everyone, like, and it's not even necessarily people that are from there, lots of tourists and everything. I feel like it would just be such a good experience.
Yeah, I'm different. I'm indifferent with it.
It's a tough one.
Like those, when Montreal was like near contending for a cup, like 2014, I think they should have won the cup that year in 2014. But like when Price got hurt against the Rangers in the semifinals, like that was game changing. That was one of the best years of a goalie. Hart, Vezina, Jennings, Ted Lindsay. Like he won every award he possibly could have that year.
Yeah, it was sad to see him go down.
And Montreal was like rolling that year in the playoffs. And he unfortunately gets hurt. And the Montreal still took the Rangers to Game 6 with Tokarski in that.
I think Montreal beats LA too. They were definitely away. Like that's like a very different matchup than Rangers were.
So I think, man, now probably Vegas.
Yeah.
But I mean,
back then, that would be like
the Bell Center was like
at the peak.
I'm trying to compare like the best the Bell Center's been and the best that Vegas could be. And I'm thinking Bell Center.
Yeah.
Because the history in the Bell Center, the history that team carries, how much passion's in Montreal. Man, I think it'd be electric to go to a Game 7 in Montreal.
Yeah, the atmosphere in like Montreal would be just like next level. Like that's the thing, you're gonna get like the vibe will be like so much different there. Whereas like in Vegas, you're just like immersed, That's like what I feel like the key difference is like, are you wanting to be like wowed with like visuals and everything like that? Or do you want to like be into it? And like, that kind of changes my opinion. Like I almost want to say like, I would rather do like Montreal, cause like just thinking about like feeling that and hearing that environment would be crazy.
Yeah. It's a lot. Like Montreal was such a fun team to watch in the playoffs that year because of how much energy the Bell Center brought. It was crazy.
Yeah, they would go wild. I remember
like Max Pacioretty, Subban, Carey Price. Like that team had a lot. Like they were playing really well that year, and to see them not advance, to see him not advance was crushing.
I feel bad for Carey. He definitely is. He deserves a cup. He's a very good goalie.
Yeah, it was he's unreal. And it's unfortunate that he's like nearing the end of his career. But one last would you rather?
Yeah.
Would you rather be the best player on a team where you're on the brink of making the playoffs, but you're like always in and out of the playoffs kind of thing? Like you're not really a contending team?
Yeah.
Or would you rather be a fourth liner on the best team?
Fourth liner on the best team. I feel like when you're on a team like that, like the fourth line and third line gets recognition because it's like such a like well-oiled machine that like, whereas like other third and fourth lines, like, you know, you remember what like Barclay Goodrow and who's the other one on Tampa last year?
Patrick Maroon,
but there's not Goodrow. He signed with Coleman. Like, remember how much like publicity those guys got because they were like good foundational bottom six players for them, like fourth liners. And yeah, I just feel like, you know, you have a role like that. I feel like it would just be like such a good time to be like
winning.
Like part of that team. Like, you know, you even though you're a fourth liner, you know, you're like pretty well as integral as like the first liners are on a team like that. Because they have all their guys going and they're all bought into the system. There's no people above. Like, yeah, some guys are going to score more, but like some guys are better at defending, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that personally.
I agree with you. Winning's a lot more fun than like trying like time. Yeah, inconsistency. It's tough, but I agree with you there. All right, Tim, on this show, we've started a new weekly segment called On This Day in Sports History. And on the day we are recording, December 13th, there are some things that happened. And time to educate the people, you know what I'm saying? Educate you. So I'm going to name 3 things, all ranging from different sports. But on December 13th in 1901 was the first table tennis tournament held in the London Royal Aquarium.
That is a while ago.
That is, are you a table tennis guy? You like table tennis?
I used to actually be into it. I used to play it with my my friends.
Table tennis is one of those sports where like everyone thinks they're good at it. Everyone thinks they're good at table tennis, and then you see like the guys who are like not holding the paddles by the handle, but like upside down. When you see a player break that out, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not good.
Yeah, I'm not good.
I thought I was good. Yeah.
And like they're putting in spin on it that you can't even like.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable. But
I wonder what 1901 table tennis was like.
It was probably like a match versus me and you. Whereas like nowadays they're standing like 30 feet away from the ends of the table, like
curving it every time.
It's unbelievable. Like watching a table tennis match it's so much more intense than you would think. You know, no one really like thinks about table tennis to be like a fun sport to watch, but man, it's intense. It can get crazy if you have like money riding on it. Oh my God, watch out!
Yeah, for sure.
1968, Bobby Orr scores his first career hat trick against his soon-to-be team, Chicago Blackhawks.
Wow, Bobby Orr. That's a pretty big feat for a D-man, that's for sure. Yeah. But that's probably nothing for Bobby Orr back in that day.
Would you put him as best defenseman of all time?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I don't know. I'm someone who respects the defensive side of the game more than others, I find. So, like, I almost like, I don't know. I kind of have him in the top 3 with like Niedermeyer, him, and Lindstrom, personally.
Yeah, Lidstrom is, I feel like Lidstrom is like slept on for some reason. Like I feel like a lot of people kind of hold him out of that conversation.
Well, he was kind of in a weird era. Like I feel like the 80s and 90s or even like 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s were so like glorified, whereas like kind of the 2000s was like the dead puck era when it was like pretty slow, and that's kind of when like Lindstrom was like really dominating, right? So I feel like he definitely, I agree though, definitely does not get the credit he deserves, but him and like Scott Niedermeyer too, that guy is just like could skate for days. Like he was crazy.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. But Bobby, I actually have a picture that I won at a pub night. The one just behind there.
I can't see it too well, but is it the classic Bobby Orr?
Yeah, let me get it for a sec.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Let me put these on here. It's like a
there you go. I haven't seen that one. That's really cool colored too.
Yeah,
And you had a couple cards as well.
I won it on a pub night
Really?
at a hockey fundraiser. But in the one of the corners here, it has his accolades.
Mm.
And boy, is it ever, it's crazy. He ran that decade. Like he ran he has 9-time league all-star, 8-time Norris Trophy winner, 6 times 100+ point seasons, 3-time Hart Trophy, 3 Stanley Cup appearances, 2 Stanley Cups, 2 Conn Smythes, 2-time Art Ross trophies, and 67 Calder Trophy winner. Best plus minus for a season in league history with an amazing plus 124.
Jeez. Plus 21-24.
Yeah. So he played 12 years, 652 games played, 270 goals, 645 assists for 915 points. And in 74 playoff games, he has 92 points.
Jeez, I forgot he played so little too.
I know, injuries, man.
Yeah, his knees were bad, weren't they?
Yeah, they weren't good.
Yeah.
And he's a Hall of Fame. He got inducted into the Hall of Fame in basically the year he retired.
Yeah.
In 79.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. Well, 900 points, 600 games for a D-man. That's like unheard of.
Yeah, he's on 6 times over 100 points.
Wow. Yeah, 8 Norris trophies too. Like,
yeah,
you're lucky to get 1 these days.
Yeah, exactly.
8.
Exactly. Last one here, 1982. Marcel Dion becomes the 9th NHLer to score 500 goals.
Yeah, he's a good player. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's another player who kind of, I don't know if he has career cut short. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else, but no, maybe it was Mike Bossy I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Mike Bossy.
No, I was going to say 500 goals. That guy, he played a lot.
Yeah.
He must have played at least a good like 10, 15 seasons at that point.
Yeah, Mike Bossy's career is one that got cut short a bit. But usually we do a time for the press where we answer questions, but I don't have any for today. But Tim, this was a hell of a time, brother. I appreciate you coming on. This is super fun to talk about the Canucks and other NHL news. Let the people know where they can find you. Twitter, anything you're working on. This is your time to shine.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me on. I had a really good time. Like I said, first podcast. So
hey, you did well, man. You deserve to be on some more. You're a great guest.
Thank you. Yeah. Hopefully I can come on sometime soon. I'm definitely down to make a couple appearances. So that'll be good. Just sorry, Tim Asfar 96 on Twitter. Tim Asfar for Instagram. Not really working on too many projects right now. Kind of going to be doing that, I feel like, in the next semester. I do as well have a website, timasfar.com, TIMASFAR.com. And yeah, you can check out a couple of my projects on there. But yeah, otherwise, definitely a really good time. Hopefully I can come on again soon.
We'll definitely make it work. And maybe we can run a trio podcast. Maybe we get Emil back on here and really talk. Maybe when the playoffs come around, we'll do a playoff pod.
For sure. That'd be honestly great time. That's a good idea.
Or even we can do a little right before the playoffs start, we can do a little
preview
bracket, kind of see how it'll work out.
Yeah. See how badly we can predict everything.
Exactly. See how bad the percentage is.
Yeah, you always pick like your Stanley Cup winner always gets knocked out in the first round. It's like, well, that entire side of my bracket's gone.
Be honest here. That historic year by Tampa, did you have them winning the cup?
Yep.
And they got swept in the first round.
And then I literally was like, well, my entire Eastern Conference bracket is done. So
yeah, exactly. And it happens to everyone. Like as soon as you think about it, it's like 7-game series, no one's going to beat the best team to ever be constructed, and then 4 games in a row they get swept.
Yeah, literally. Not even just a regular 7-game nail biter loss, like just a straight sweep.
But honestly, there's a theory there, they weren't playing playoff hockey from Christmas on because they were so dominant, and then you have Columbus who were playing playoff hockey from Christmas on because they had to play for a spot, so they were riding with momentum. But
they just punched them in the teeth, and
exactly.
That was it. Yeah.
But you guys can follow me on Instagram at Jevon.Lefave, on Twitter at JevonLefave. Find everything for the show, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at LeftsideHeavy_. You can also go catch my website, jevonlefevre.com, JEVONLEFEBVRE, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Left Side Heavy. You can catch clips, full episode podcast there. Right now, I'm in the works of editing some of the videos that are already uploaded. So right now they're temporarily not up there, but I'm soon to get those finished soon. No intro, outro music. I'm in the works of getting a new one. And yeah, that's everything for this episode. I appreciate you guys listening. There's a Kickback and Relax episode coming, not this Friday, but next Friday, uploading on Christmas Day, which is pretty funny how that worked out. But we're doing a full Christmas episode, Christmas memories with me and my sisters. So that's going to be a fun one. Be sure to tune into that. But Tim, once again, thank you for coming on. This is a hell of an episode. And listeners, appreciate you for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.